You are not lazy. You are not weak. You are not undisciplined. You are overstimulated. Every morning, before your feet touch the ground, your mind is already tired. Notifications, messages, news, noise. Your attention is pulled in 100 directions before the day even begins. You sit down to work, but your body is present while your mind is elsewhere. You try to focus, but something keeps pulling you away. Not because you don't care, but because you've been trained not to stay. We call it distraction. We call it procrastination. We call it lack of motivation. But ancient traditions had a different name for this condition. They called it a scattered spirit. And when the spirit is scattered, energy leaks away. This is why you feel exhausted without doing anything hard. This is why you finish days with nothing real completed. This is why your mind feels loud even in silence. The problem is not your workload. The problem is your attention. And long before phones, before algorithms, before endless content, Japanese Zen monks discovered something terrifyingly simple. A mind that tries to be everywhere ends up nowhere. They called the cure Ichigyo-Zammai. One action, one moment, total presence. Not productivity, not hustle, presence. The survival brain. Why distraction feels natural. To understand why focus feels so hard today, you must understand something uncomfortable. Your brain was never designed for peace. Thousands of years ago, divided attention meant survival. Our ancestors constantly scanned their surroundings. A sound in the bushes could mean death. A sudden movement could mean danger. So the brain evolved to jump quickly, to seek novelty, to interrupt itself. That mechanism saved lives. But the modern world weaponized it. Today there is no tiger in the grass. There is a notification, a message, a new video, a red badge begging for your attention. Each one triggers the same ancient response. Your brain doesn't know the difference. And every time you switch tasks, your mind fractures just a little more. This is why you feel mentally exhausted after scrolling. Not relaxed, not refreshed, empty. The hidden cost of multitasking. You think you're multitasking. In reality, you're bleeding attention. Every switch comes with a cost. Focus dissolves. Momentum collapses. Your mind must restart again and again. Researchers found that after an interruption, it takes 20+ minutes to return to deep focus. Now think about your day. How many interruptions? How many switches? How many half-finished thoughts? No wonder you feel behind. No wonder everything feels heavy. You are not living one life. You are living 10 unfinished ones at the same time. Enter Ichigyo-Zammai. Ichigyo-Zammai is not a productivity trick. It is a way of being. The phrase comes from Zen Buddhism. Literally, it means one act, one mind. When you drink tea, you drink tea. When you walk, you walk. When you work, you work. Nothing else exists. No mental escape. No future fantasy. No background noise. Just this moment. Zen monks practiced this not to achieve more, but to suffer less. Because suffering comes from division. A quiet warning from the monks. Zen masters warned their students of something they called mental dilution. When attention is divided too often, the mind becomes shallow. Thoughts lose weight. Actions lose meaning. Life feels thin. This is exactly how many people feel today. Busy but unfulfilled. Connected but lonely. Informed but directionless. Ichigyo-Zammai was their answer. Not speed. Not intensity. Depth. Why this matters to you. If you can master attention, everything else follows. Discipline becomes easier. Learning becomes faster. Work becomes lighter. But more importantly, life becomes real again. Colors sharpen. Time slows down. Moments stop slipping through your fingers. This is not theory. This is training. And in the next part, we'll meet someone who lived exactly where you are now. Distracted, frustrated, and doubting himself. Until Ichigyo-Zammai changed everything. Part 2. The boy who couldn't stay still. A mind that never landed. Jake didn't feel broken. He felt fragmented. Every day followed the same pattern. He woke up with plans, ambition, intention. And by night, those plans were scattered across half-finished tasks and wasted hours. He would sit at his desk, books open, pen in hand. At first, everything felt possible. Then the mind would drift. Not violently, not suddenly, quietly. A thought about the future, a memory from yesterday, a vibration from his phone. Each distraction felt harmless, but together they hollowed him out. Jake didn't lack intelligence. He lacked presence. The internal fight. The hardest part wasn't distraction. It was the self-judgment. Every time he failed to focus, a voice appeared. Why can't you just sit still? Other people can do this. You're wasting your potential. That voice drained more energy than any task ever could. He tried forcing himself. Long study hours, motivational videos, promises to change starting tomorrow. Nothing lasted, because force without direction always collapses. When effort stops working, there was a moment, small but decisive. Jake was preparing for a math exam he needed to pass. 3 hours passed. He checked the clock. He had completed 2 problems. Not because the problems were hard, but because his mind kept leaving. He stared at the page, feeling something heavy in his chest. Not fear, shame. That night he didn't scroll. He didn't distract himself. He sat in the discomfort. And for the first time he admitted the truth. I don't know how to be with one thing. That realization changed everything. The teacher who saw through him. The next day, Jake stayed after class. Mr. Tanaka was erasing the board slowly. No rush, no noise. Jake watched him longer than necessary. There was something different about him. Not intelligence. Not authority. Stillness. Jake spoke. I try hard, but nothing sticks. Mr. Tanaka didn't interrupt. He waited. Silence stretched. Then he asked one question. When you study, where are you? Jake didn't answer, because he didn't know. The first lesson. Environment never lies. Mr. Tanaka walked to Jake's desk. He looked at the phone, the open tabs, the scattered notes. This is not your enemy, he said calmly. This is your mirror. Jake felt exposed. You live in interruption, Mr. Tanaka continued. So your mind learned to interrupt itself. No blame, no lecture, just truth. Ichigyo-Zammai explained slowly. Mr. Tanaka wrote the words again. Ichigyo-Zammai. One thing, he said, done completely. He explained that Zen monks trained attention the same way warriors train their bodies. Slow, repetitive, relentless. They didn't wait to feel focused. They returned to focus. Over and over. Not fighting distraction. Not hating it. Just noticing and coming back. The difference between force and return. Most people try to force focus. They tense the mind. They resist distraction. That only creates fatigue. Ichigyo-Zammai is different. You let the mind wander, then gently guide it back. Again and again. This is how attention is trained. Not through pressure, through patience. The first practice. Mr. Tanaka gave Jake one instruction. Tonight, one subject, 1 hour. Phone outside the room. One notebook. Nothing else. When your mind leaves, he said, notice it and return. No music. No multitasking. No escape. Just presence. Jake nodded. Not confident, but curious. What Jake didn't expect. That night felt uncomfortable. The silence was loud. His body wanted stimulation. His mind searched for exits. Every few minutes, his thoughts ran away. But something strange happened. Each time he returned, the return itself felt powerful. Like lifting a weight. Not dramatic, but real. The seed is planted. Jake didn't become focused that night, but something shifted. For the first time, he understood. Focus wasn't a personality trait. It was a practice. And practices change people. The resistance no one talks about. The next few days were not inspiring. They were frustrating. Jake sat down to study each evening with intention. Same desk, same notebook, same silence. And every time the same resistance appeared. Not laziness, not tiredness, something darker, avoidance. His mind would invent reasons to stop. You can study later. Just check one thing. You deserve a break. The thoughts felt logical, but they were lies. Why the mind fights focus. Jake didn't know it yet, but neuroscience explains this perfectly. The brain prefers the familiar. Distraction is familiar. Focus is effort. When you remove stimulation, the brain panics. It searches for dopamine. This is why silence feels uncomfortable. This is why boredom feels painful. And this is why most people quit right here. The moment most people fail. On the fourth day, Jake almost gave up. He stared at the page for 10 minutes. Nothing went in. His thoughts screamed. He stood up, reached for the door, one step away from relief. Then he remembered Mr. Tanaka's words. You are not training knowledge. You are training return. Jake sat back down. That decision changed the trajectory of his life. The return is the rep. Each time Jake noticed distraction and came back, something invisible happened. A neural pathway strengthened, like a trail being walked again and again. At first, returning felt exhausting. Later, it felt natural. Eventually, it felt automatic. This is how discipline is built. Not through motivation, through repetition under discomfort. Boredom as a gateway. Jake learned to sit with boredom. Not escape it. Not entertain it. Just observe it. And then something strange happened. Boredom transformed. Turned into calm. Then clarity. Then immersion. What he thought was boredom was actually withdrawal from stimulation. Once it passed, focus remained. The first real breakthrough. One evening, Jake looked up from his notebook. The room felt different. Quiet, but not empty. His thoughts were aligned. The problem he was working on made sense. Not because he was smarter, because he was there, fully. The clock showed 90 minutes had passed. Jake didn't feel drained. He felt grounded. The shift in identity. Something important changed that week. Jake stopped seeing himself as bad at focusing. He started seeing focus as a skill he was learning. That shift killed shame. And when shame dies, progress accelerates. The world responds to stillness. Jake's teachers noticed. He listened differently, answered calmly, didn't rush. His classmates felt it too. There was something solid about him now. Still the same person, but anchored. The hidden power of one thing. Ichigyo-Zammai wasn't just about studying anymore. Jake practiced it everywhere. Eating, walking, listening. Each moment became fuller, sharper. Life stopped feeling rushed, even when nothing changed externally. The most dangerous illusion. Jake understood something most people never do. Multitasking is not efficiency. It's fragmentation. And fragmented attention creates fragmented lives. One thing done deeply beats 10 done poorly. Every time. The silent change. Nothing dramatic happened at first. No applause. No sudden praise. But inside Jake, something had stabilized. He no longer fought his mind. He guided it. Every study session began the same way. One desk. One book. 3 deep breaths. That ritual mattered more than motivation. It told his nervous system, now we focus. Focus becomes a habit. Jake stopped waiting to feel ready. He sat down anyway. Some days were good. Some days were dull. But consistency replaced emotion. And consistency compounds. This is where most people misunderstand discipline. They think discipline is intensity. It's not. It's reliability. The first test. The math exam arrived quietly. Jake didn't feel nervous. Not because he was confident. Because he was present. He sat down. Read the first question. And something clicked. The noise disappeared. No future. No past. Only the problem. Ichigyo-Zammai. What focus feels like. Time didn't slow. It vanished. Jake didn't rush. Didn't second guess. He moved deliberately. One step at a time. That was the difference. Not speed. Clarity. The result. When the tests were returned, Jake almost missed it. An A. He stared at the paper longer than necessary. Not because of pride, but disbelief. This wasn't luck. This wasn't talent. This was alignment. The teacher's look. Mr. Tanaka didn't say anything. He didn't need to. That quiet smile said, "You learned the lesson." Jake nodded back. Respect passed between them. The ripple effect. Grades followed. Physics improved. Chemistry stabilized. Programming flourished. But more important than grades was confidence. Jake no longer doubted his effort. He trusted his process. When others notice, his friends were confused. "You're different lately." Jake smiled. "I'm just doing one thing at a time." They laughed. But he didn't explain. Some truths must be lived, not spoken. The dangerous moment. This is where most people relapse. Success creates comfort. Comfort invites distraction. Jake felt it too. The urge to relax, to coast. But Ichigyo-Zammai taught him something crucial. There is no finish line. Only practice. The real reward. The biggest reward wasn't the A. It was peace. Jake no longer carried constant mental noise. He slept better, listened better, lived better. Progress is not linear. Jake's life didn't magically become easy. There were weeks when focus felt heavy. Days when the ritual felt pointless. But something had changed. He no longer asked, "Do I feel like it?" He asked, "What is the next single action?" That question kept him moving forward. The system behind discipline. Jake realized something powerful. Willpower is unreliable. Systems are not. So he built systems. Same study time. Same location. Same ritual. His environment did the work his emotions used to fail at. Distraction redefined. Jake stopped seeing distraction as weakness. Distraction became a signal that the mind was tired, afraid, or overstimulated. Instead of fighting it, he acknowledged it and returned. Again and again. This repetition rewired his brain. The gap widens. While others crammed, Jake practiced. While others multitasked, Jake went deep. Over time, the gap widened quietly. Not because he worked more, because he worked undivided. Application season. College applications arrived. Essays, tests, deadlines. Jake applied Ichigyo-Zammai to each task individually. One essay, one paragraph, one sentence. No rushing, no mental noise. The mockery returns. Friends doubted him. MIT? Be realistic. Jake didn't argue. He had learned something new. Energy is wasted explaining your path to people who won't walk it. Detachment from outcome. This was crucial. Jake didn't obsess over acceptance. He focused on execution. Outcome was outside his control. Process was not. That detachment made him calm. The email came on an ordinary afternoon. No dramatic music. No build-up. Just an inbox notification. He opened it. Read once. Then again. Then froze. Accepted. MIT. Reality replaced imagination. His parents cried. Jake smiled. But inside he felt something deeper than joy. Gratitude. The real victory. MIT wasn't the victory. Mastering attention was. College was just the proof. Shock of a new level. MIT was nothing like high school. Brilliant minds everywhere. Relentless pressure. Constant comparison. Many students who had always been the smartest began to crack. Jake noticed something unsettling. Intelligence wasn't enough. Why most people burn out. Students worked longer hours, drank more caffeine, multitasked harder, and burned faster. Jake didn't. Not because he was tougher, because his attention was trained. Ichigyo-Zammai in real life. Jake kept his ritual sacred. Before studying, clean desk, phone away, 3 breaths, then full immersion, one problem at a time. This protected him from overwhelm. Focus as emotional stability. Jake noticed something unexpected. Focused attention didn't just improve work. It stabilized emotion. Anxiety decreased. Self-doubt softened. Mental noise faded. Presence became peace. Why multitasking fails? Multitasking feels productive, but it fractures the mind. Jake watched classmates switch between tabs, chats, and tasks. They were busy, not effective. The hidden advantage. Jake wasn't the fastest. He was the deepest. And depth compounds. Professors noticed. Group leaders trusted him. From student to leader. In group projects, Jake naturally led. Not by talking more. By listening fully. People felt seen around him. That's rare. The core truth. Attention is respect. To your work. To others. To yourself. Those who master it become invaluable. Life beyond productivity. Ichigyo-Zammai spilled into everything. Eating. Walking. Conversations. Life slowed, but felt richer. Neuroplasticity. Your brain is not fixed. When Jake first learned Ichigyo-Zammai, he wondered if it really worked. Turns out science has the answer. Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on practice. Every time Jake focused fully, he strengthened the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for planning, tension, impulse control. Think of it like weightlifting for your mind. Each session of focus builds stronger mental muscles. The default mode network. Have you ever been thinking about the past, worrying about the future, or just daydreaming when you should be working? That's your brain's default mode network. Studies from Stanford University show that practicing focused attention can reduce its activity by up to 40%. In other words, fewer distractions, less mental noise. Jake wasn't imagining it. His brain was literally changing. The flow state. Ever lost track of time while playing a game or reading a story? That's a flow state, the state Ichigyo-Zammai trains you to reach intentionally. Neuroscience proves that flow increases dopamine, motivation hormone, improves memory retention, enhances learning efficiency. Jake didn't just study. He became the subject, the material, the process itself. Practical applications. The combination of Pomodoro plus Ichigyo-Zammai works because it limits distractions, environment plus devices, creates structured blocks of deep focus, teaches the mind to return when it wanders. It's a brain workout, a meditation, and a productivity hack all in one. Happiness and presence. Science also proves what Zen monks have said for centuries. Presence increases satisfaction. Studies show people practicing mindfulness report higher life satisfaction. They feel more connected. Even routine tasks become meaningful. Jake discovered this personally. Eating felt richer. Conversations were deeper. Life itself became vivid. The biggest secret. Most people believe success comes from smarter strategies, harder work, more time. The truth? Success comes from attention mastery. Jake's life didn't change because he studied more. It changed because he studied better in total immersion. From teenager to master of focus. By the time Jake entered MIT, he was no longer the distracted 16-year-old who couldn't sit still for 5 minutes. He had built a ritual, a system, a mental environment where distractions had no power. Phone in another room. Only one browser tab open. Timer set for focus blocks. Conscious breathing to reset attention. Every action became deliberate. Every step intentional. While other students struggled with multitasking, procrastination, and stress, Jake moved calmly through his studies, projects, and exams. It wasn't talent that set him apart. It was consistency, the quiet power of daily focus. Achievements speak louder than words. Jake's grades skyrocketed. Physics, A. Chemistry, A. Programming, A. His parents were shocked. His friends were incredulous. How did you do it? They asked. Jake smiled quietly. He knew the secret wasn't working harder. It was working fully present. When he applied to MIT, he didn't obsess over the outcome. He focused only on what he could control. His attention, his effort, his presence. 6 months later, the email came. He had been accepted. That moment was more than an achievement. It was proof that mastering attention can change destiny. The lesson beyond college. Success didn't stop at MIT. The principles of Ichigyo-Zammai applied to every aspect of life. Programming projects became a flow of ideas. Team meetings became productive and efficient. Personal interactions became meaningful. Jake realized something crucial. Life isn't about more resources, more talent, or more time. It's about using what you have fully. Attention is the currency of life. Whoever controls it controls their results. Presentation is power. Age 28, Jake was a team leader in a tech company. Colleagues noticed his calm, his focus, his precision. They asked, "Jake, what's your secret?" His answer was simple. "I'm not smarter than you. I just learned to eliminate distractions and be fully present. One thing at a time, full attention." This wasn't motivational fluff. It was science-backed practice that anyone can adopt. The true impact of Ichigyo-Zammai. The greatest change wasn't in grades, job titles, or promotions. It was in Jake himself, fully present in life, more resilient under stress, deeper relationships, greater satisfaction and happiness. Ichigyo-Zammai taught him to live awake, not on autopilot. And that's the ultimate lesson. Master your attention, and you master your life. Final thoughts. We live in a world full of distractions, notifications, and endless stimuli. But the ancient Zen wisdom of Ichigyo-Zammai shows that focus is a skill, and presence is a practice. When you apply it, even ordinary moments become extraordinary. Life is made up of moments. Be present in yours. Don't watch it pass